again, this one won't take too long. The religious teachings about the purpose of families. Previous ones about the nature of families, its makeup, and the traditional nuclear family of like 2 to 3 kids and a husband and wife, and then blended families and step families and so on. This is about the purpose of those families. Okay, and so really, the purpose of the family is to bring up children, is to educate children, not just educate children within the faith of Christianity, but it's also to educate them in terms of how to operate within society, how to their place in society, how to behave within society, as well as learning about their religion, about their beliefs about God. It's a place where they can be protected, so that they can be loved and cared for, and they can have their needs met, and so that as they grow up within the family unit, then the idea is that they are able to reach their potential because they've got parents who are protecting them, meeting their needs, and enabling them to develop. And that's the thinking behind it. It's almost like the building block of society. So you get the nuclear family of a husband and a wife and the 2, 3 children. That's like a building block. It's almost like a brick of a house. Okay, each individual brick by itself might not be that important, but you need all the bricks together to build the house. And it's the same in the family and society. Maybe each individual family within society you might sort of think not important, but each individual family makes up the fabric of society. And the idea, again, is that this is where you are meant to be at your safest, total protection. Now, we know that breaks down. It can be really distressing when there are issues of abuse that take place within families and they come to light. Um, so, and that's why it's always so shocking when those things happen. It goes against everything that the purpose of a family is about. So, like I say, it's deeply ingrained in Christian beliefs. If you remember in Genesis, the instruction given to Adam and Eve that they will leave their mothers and fathers, and then they will come together and make one flesh, and they'll have kids. They're meant to go out and reproduce and subdue the earth. And so, from the very beginning, the Genesis story, it is there that this is our role, and clearly we need to be looking after our children and teaching, educating the children within their faith. And so, therefore, parents are expected to be good role models. It's not about just do what I say, but children learn by observation. They learn about behavior, not by what people say necessarily, but by how parents act and how people act with each other. That's how children learn. By the time you're sitting down to have a conversation with them, it's probably a bit too late in teaching someone their morality. Modern day psychologists talk about within the first 4 or 5 years, even less, a child has learned nearly everything they're going to learn about morality through observation of the adults within that person's life, within that child's life. And so for the Christian parents, there's a massive obligation for you to be a role model in terms of how to behave, how you conduct yourself in terms of your faith, your beliefs in God, how you treat each other. A child is going to learn how to treat a woman by looking at how the father treats the mother, and vice versa. So it's a big job, and it reflects actually this idea of sacrifice within relationship within the family. You got the quote there from the New Testament: "Husbands, love your wives just as Christ loved the church and gave himself up for her." And this is you can cherry pick Bible verses, make it seem as if husbands should dominate the family and stuff like that. But actually, the role of the husband is to sacrifice himself for his wife, um, is to put his wife first, to put the family first, so that they live, so that they succeed, so that it's not meant to be anyway. It's not meant to be about the man dominating the family. I mean, if you look at these other quotes, yeah, it says, "Listen to your father who gave you life, and do not despise your mother when she is old." That's in the Old Testament. So it almost seems like follow your parents, wishes and example. But underneath that, children are heritage from the Lord, offspring a reward from him. Like arrows in the hands of a warrior are children born in one's youth. Blessed is the man whose quiver is full of them. So having lots of children is seen as a blessing from God. But kids Children also have your responsibilities. Children obey your parents in everything, for this pleases the Lord. Fathers, do not embitter your children, or they will become discouraged. Now, there's an interesting relationship there. When it says children obey your parents and everything, that could give the impression that whatever your parents say, no matter your parents say, you've got to obey them. But the responsibility, therefore, on the fathers is to actually be responsible in the things that you're asking your children to do. If you are continually putting them down, yes, children are meant to obey the parents, but the fathers are not meant to be making their children's lives worse. They're not meant to be putting pressure on their children. They're not meant to be creating this sense of bitterness between their children and the parents. It's meant to be actually developing a caring, loving relationship, and that's the responsibility of the father. So yes, so children do have to obey, but actually the role of the parents is a very difficult role, and the most important role really anybody can have when it comes to Christianity and Judaism as well, and Islam, is because it is from the parents that you will learn everything you need to learn in terms of how to succeed in the world. Okay, so look at some questions there. How families provide stability for their family members. For society as a whole, it's about the mother and the father coming together, supporting the children, protecting the children, always being there. The father being sacrificial in his behaviour towards his family. And for you guys, recognise that parents are meant to be doing that, and so obey your parents. Okay, so there is that two-way relationship. Now we know that there's an ideal, and I'm talking about an ideal here, and I know that within the real world, within real life, how often does that ideal actually happen? But that's what you're aiming for. Okay, and that's what we get it wrong. We all get it wrong. We're human, but that is where we're aiming for. So actually, it's more of a dynamic relationship between parents and children. It's not just about the mum and dad having to go at their kids, telling them off, and that kind of stuff. They have a responsibility to teach you how to behave and teach you about the faith and not turn you into a bitter person. So, interesting question there. Educating children in a faith is just brainwashing them. Evaluate that statement. I'll be interested to know what you think about that. I know that when my son, he was 13, he read the book called God Delusion by Richard Dawkins, and Richard Dawkins firmly believes that educating children is brainwashing them, in the faith is brainwashing them. And my son came to me and said, "Oh, you brainwashed me." I think my argument was the fact that actually you don't go to church anymore because you chose not to. We can have this discussion means that we haven't brainwashed you. So I'd be interested in what you think about that. I mean, you could make an argument that parents of faith or parents who don't have a faith, we all brainwash our kids. Because just like I said at the beginning, from the age of 3, 4, 5, they are watching everything that you do as an adult. And basically, we teach them all our morality anyway, whether you believe in God or you don't believe in God. And part of growing up, part of being a teenager, part of being a student of your age, is challenging the beliefs that your parents have, deciding what you're going to accept and deciding what you're going to reject. And that's why very often can be conflict within families of teenagers, because you don't just accept everything that your parents have been saying. But clearly, if someone's been too overbearing and someone is being too controlling and not allowing you to have that freedom of thought, then we have a problem, and that's not the ideal family. Okay, then I'm starting to ramble on there, but look, there's really good stuff that we could discuss there. But yeah, just to make some notes on that, answer those questions. So not complicated, really, really simple.